Hi, everybody. So we are going to do a pick a card reading for November. What does everybody need to know for November? Let me just take this off. It's annoying me. So we're going to just take out our Fountain Tarot, and we're going to go through 1, 2, or 3. Pick a card, pick a number, 1, 2, or 3, concentrate. What do you need to know for November? What does the collective need to know for November? This can include what's going on in the world. So if you don't like discussions of that nature, then you're watching the wrong channel, because I incorporate collective events into my readings because they do affect us, regardless if we want to pretend they don't or not. So concentrate on a number 1, 2, or 3. Concentrate on a selection of cards that I will take out, 1, 2, or 3, and this will be the message for you. Okay, so message number 1 flew out. 7 of Cups is for message number 1. 7 of Cups, the 6 of Cups, 5 of Cups reversed, and Ace of Wands, Ace of Pentacles. Okay, so what is the story that these are telling me right now to communicate to you? So the 7 of Cups says, you got a lot of choices, or you're overwhelmed with choices. Either you feel opportunity by all these choices that you have, or they're just leaving you at a stalemate or a standstill. Hi, Kelly. Oh, tell him I said happy birthday. And if you want to ask that other question, send me an email, because remember, I only answered 2. I left the third one for a follow-up question for the reading you got. So you feeling overwhelmed with options, or you've got a lot of choice, and that choice is a good thing and it's a bad thing. It's kind of like you can't make a decision because there's so many things. Either that, or you've got too much on your plate and you're overwhelmed and you're just kind of like staring at all the things you have to do and you don't know what to do first. You wish things could turn to an easier or happier time. Maybe this also has to do with what's going on in the collective. You wish things could return to a time before we've had the pandemic, before we had CV-19, before everything started getting changed and turned upside down in our lives. The fear mostly that's instilled in everybody, the chaos, the restrictions, the controls. You know, you're looking back at a time when things were not like that. And you're also accepting or getting over some kind of loss. Maybe you've lost a person recently. Maybe you had a falling out with somebody, or you lost them possibly to death. It could be, you know, it doesn't have to be death specifically from the pandemic. It could be whatever, you know, something else that unfortunately made them pass, and you're still getting over that. Either that, or it could just be that the person isn't in your life because you're not communicating anymore. So it's a figurative death, but it's not a literal death. But you're having these kind of this overwhelmed feeling, too much on your plate. It's like, yeah, people would say, oh, but you've got all the abundance because you have the Ace of Coin. But it's like, yeah, I may have all this abundance, but I've got so many damn things to do, and it's just overwhelming me, and I just don't want to deal with it anymore. You know, this is what, not me, this is what you're dealing with. I talk as if I'm you when I do readings. This that empathic energy. So you have this kind of like feeling of, yes, this abundance is good for me. Maybe this has to do with work, the overwhelming feeling, but people aren't seeing that I am still getting over this. And I just want to return to a time before all this stuff happened in the collective, before all this stuff started going on. The Spirit is saying you do have the ability. You are stronger than you're giving yourself credit for. And yes, sometimes that's not what people want to hear. They want to say, I just want it all to end. But you don't really have control over making this end. What you do have control over is to say no to certain things if you have the ability to in your personal life, to not overwhelm yourself, and to reject certain things. Maybe just say, I can't do it. You know, no is not a bad word all the time. You need to be able to assert yourself and say no. Sometimes you have to be able to put your foot down. And if it's something in the collective that you feel overwhelmed by, not just in your personal life or in work life, it's not so much that you're going to be able to all with one full, you know, swift movement stop what's going on in the collective with the pandemic and all of that, and the restrictions and the governments and all that. You're not going to be able to single-handedly stop it, but you can do little things. You can, for instance, breathe oxygen outside. You can communicate to others what you've learned from people such as David Icke. It doesn't have to be David Icke. It could be other people, but people who know Dr. Pitar, people who might know something else to share that, to try to bring about a little bit of a resistance to that. Now, it doesn't mean that you're going to be able to single-handedly change things overnight, but certainly putting the energy in that direction in some form, shape, or fashion can help. It won't hurt. And like I said, if this is something you're overwhelmed with just in your personal life, it doesn't have to do with the restrictions in the collective, then certainly learn when and how to say no. How to say no. If somebody's overwhelming you with tasks at work, or somebody in your personal life is overwhelming you with things, or taking you for granted certain things you do, just learn how to say no and not agree to everything. So that was for message number 1. We're at 5:41 now, and we're going to do message number 2 at 5 minutes 41 seconds. Message number 2. Message number 2. What do you need to know for November? Okay. As above, so below. Something you've been wanting to manifest is just waiting to come out into fruition. This is very similar to the Magician card. It was very much like it. It talks about our ability to manifest through the law of attraction, as above, so below. With the powers that we don't see can manifest in material reality. So what are you looking to move forward with? What are you looking to manifest in your life? What have you been wanting to approach with intelligence, with confidence, with direction, with focus? The Knight of Wands is very focused and directed and confident within himself. What have you felt a little bit emotionally unsettled about? King of Cups reversed. What have you felt left out in the cold about in the past? And maybe like you just couldn't do it anymore, and you just, you're a failure, or you just feel like I'm not calling you a failure, I'm sorry. You feel like you were a failure. You feel like you're not getting enough. You feel like you're downtrodden and all this stuff is stabbing into your back and you're left out in the cold. But you know what? The first card that came out, the second card that came out, the third card that came out is telling you that you're not, that you have this strength and ability still to do this. Maybe you need to give yourself a break, not push yourself too hard every day. Maybe you need like a week or a few days off if you have the luxury of doing that. And then you're going to collect all of that energy, that new game plan, refocusing on what it is you want and need, reprioritizing and knowing that this is possible. The collective wants this to happen for you, and it is possible for you to manifest this. It's okay. You can have bad days. You don't always have to be happy and on point and like excited about everything. Like, this is my big problem with some law of attraction gurus. And this is what I have as an argument with some of them. And I've said this many times on this channel, as somebody who's done therapy and social work, I can tell you sometimes people just have a situation, particularly when it's mental illness, that affects their ability to believe or to do things. And it's not because they're law of attracting it to themselves, because, for instance, a lot of mental illness comes from childhood abuse, childhood sexual, physical abuse, or just a combination of that and genetics. So you can't tell somebody like that, this is an extreme example, but you can't tell somebody like that, oh yes, you just law of attracted schizophrenia to yourself, right? So this is an extreme example to let you guys know. I'm trying to tell you, number 2, not that you're schizophrenic or something, but with that example to say that you are not always, it's not always about it being your fault that you're not getting the thing that you want, that it's not coming as fast as you want. It's not your fault. It's not about, if you just think more positive, it's going to just poof, appear into the air and you're just going to get it. Yes. Positive thinking and positive reframing, as they call it in therapy, they call it positive reframing, and law of attraction in the spiritual world is the same thing, is important, but it's not everything. Sometimes you have to allow yourself those moments to say, you know what, I feel like shit. I need to take some time out. It's not happening right now. And I'm just going to take some time to myself. I'm not going to let this drag me down forever, but I'm not going to pretend that I'm feeling perfect if I'm not, because look at these cards. This is pain. This is emotional ups and downs. This is feeling rejected, dejected, and this is feeling a loss. So there has been some negative energy surrounding you. However, Spirit is saying you do have this ability to move forward, to confidently move forward, to grasp what it is you desire, as above, so below. The universe wants to create this with you. But sometimes it's okay to just take a step back. It's okay. It's okay. And if you're feeling like that, that's okay too. You don't want to get stuck in it forever, but give yourself that time. Give yourself that time. Okay, so 956, message number 3. 956, message 3. Okay, so you chose, or you are thinking of message number 3. What does the collective want you to know? What do my spirit guides want you to know? What does your own intuition, your higher self want you to know? If you chose message number 3, having to do with your personal life, having to do with your professional life, having to do with your spiritual life, and having to do with the collective, what's going on in the world. Everything affects us. Everything affects us. There is something that somebody has not been honest with you about, or you have not been honest with yourself about. And it's going to come to a head, and it's going to slap you in the face whether you like it or not. Now, I'm coming off as a little aggressive in the readings today. Maybe I'm feeling more of my yang or masculine energy than my yin or feminine energy today. It switches back and forth because we all have those spiritual energies within us, and sometimes we feel some more than others, but the messages are coming out very direct today. So I feel like there's something either somebody has been lying to you about, or you've been lying to yourself about, and you haven't been accepting it. And because of that, it's going to slap you in the face whether you like it or not. So you can run from it as much as you want. Again, I don't want to scare people. This doesn't have to be like something terrible, like, oh, somebody's cheating on you or stealing from you. It doesn't have to be that extreme. It can just be maybe they're not telling you their true feelings about something, or maybe you're not acknowledging your true feelings about something. Maybe you're not acknowledging something in your life has changed, and that's a lie to yourself. It doesn't have to be something horrible, but it is something that you're denying and running from, and it's going to make you face it whether or not you want to. Okay? And, I mean, you've had a lot of frustration in your life recently. You've felt a little bit annoyed with things that have been going on. You've felt a little bit like, what else can I do? You've been trying to just focus on everything day by day. Pentacles energy is slow. 4 of Pentacles talks about saving for a rainy day, being cautious, kind of, but it also in the negative can be like you're holding on too tight. And if you hold on too tight, that's how things slip out of your fingers, because it's the law of resistance. You're clinging so tight to something, whether it's resources, an idea, a partner, whatever it is, that it will slip, or they will slip through your fingers. And the rejection of the 4 of Pentacles or the 4 of Coins says that you need to let go of someone or something. It doesn't mean you have to let go forever, but taking this cautious route all the time isn't always cautious. The cautious route is not always cautious, and the taking risk route is not always good to do all the time. Taking a risk constantly and never planning for a rainy day isn't a good idea. I mean, that's how you can end up a vagrant on the street or something with no identity, nothing, not even knowing what the hell is going on in your life. But you also can't be somebody who is always so careful and cautious and scared. And I know especially the earth signs, Virgo, Taurus, Capricorn, tend to do this, tend to want to plan and micromanage everything in their life. And it's not only for earth signs, this message, but this is to give you an archetypal example of who tends to do this. It's just, planning is good to an extent, but you can overplan to the point where you think you have everything under control, and there's something that you're in denial about. There's something that you are in denial about, that you can sit in denial as long as you want, but it's going to come crashing down whether you accept it or not. Because it's not going to make, you can't be forced to accept something, but you can be forced to see it in front of you. So just because you see something in front of you crumbling down and slapping you in the face doesn't mean that you are going to say, oh, I accept that this is happening in my life. You could still resist it and say, what the hell is happening? But the Tower is saying, this was coming. This was coming. You kept denying all the signs. You kept ignoring it. This was coming. And change can be a beautiful and a wonderful thing. It can be scary at first. That can be a beautiful and wonderful thing if you have that acceptance, if you don't have the self-denial associated with that change. Something about the way you're approaching something has to change. It's going to bring you more hope eventually and return you to this time that's more peaceful, that's happier, that's more appreciative of life, It's going to set you free, but it's not going to be easy at first to confront whatever it is you've been running away from, number 3. All right. So thank you guys for watching, and I appreciate you. And let's just do one collective reading for everybody, not 1, 2, or 3, but a collective. And then I'm going to get off of here. If you'd like a Halloween reading, incantation, life coaching set. Well, life coaching I'm not going to do on Halloween, but I can do tarot, incantation, or intention, which is basically law of attraction exercises I do for you to help get you some money or help get you, I'm sorry about that, that was loud. But it's to help get you some money or help get you some, you know, some kind of new connection in your life or love in your life. I do those. And I also do the tarot on Halloween. And again, that's right. I have to do my video about the history and meaning of Halloween, which is actually an Irish-Scottish holiday called Samhain. It comes from ancient Europe, and it is very similar to the Mexican Day of the Dead. However, it is its own holiday. And they are very parallel and similar, however, in how it's like a celebration of the dead and a celebration of ancestral energy. This is why Halloween costumes that are more dark in nature tend to be more authentic, not those stupid porn star costumes. I hate those. But anyway, so let's go to the collective message, and I'm going to put up our Halloween special video talking about the history of Halloween, doing a Halloween reading probably in the next few days, so stay tuned for that. Okay, so the collective reading for everybody who is watching, the collective reading for everybody who is watching. What does the collective need to know? Everybody who is watching. Everybody who is watching. Okay, so everybody who's watching, it is good to plan some things. It is good to save for a rainy day for some things. It is good to prepare. This is probably about what's going on in the collective, if you know what I mean. Like, not just the collective who's watching, but the world. Stability. Find your own stability. We're still in the year of the Emperor. We're not there yet to charge ahead with a new phase yet. We're not there yet. People have been feeling very knocked off of their peace of mind, very unsettled, save for a rainy day. There's a lot of coins and saving here. And yes, things have been heartbreaking or disappointing recently in the collective, and things have felt unstable and shaky. And the world is in disagreement. The world is in argument, but people eventually will come together again with temperance, but ultimately love will unite people again, and we will have a new beginning and a rebirth. And that new beginning and that rebirth, people are hesitant to walk towards. They are still afraid to walk away from one paradigm into the next. They are still afraid to walk forward with the Ace of Swords to the direction that they need to, but people will gain the strength and the intuition to do so, even though there is a sense of people grasping for that last piece of the current paradigm because they don't want to accept the new paradigm that's coming. That last piece of the paradigm saying, oh my gosh, I'm just gonna, you know, this is such a good depiction of the Two of Pentacles, and it totally retranslates the meaning actually. In the original, it's like a juggler. He looks like a silly, ridiculous guy in the Rider-Waite juggling 2 coins. This person looks like it's between life or death if they don't find some kind of balance or equilibrium. And if they drop those coins, they're going to drown, basically. Look at this depiction of the card. It's like somebody who's about to drown and die, grabbing onto 2 pentacles. So if we take this spiritually, it doesn't literally mean death, obviously. Spiritually, this means it is the very desire and need to grasp on to the status quo, to the equilibrium, to the balance, to the thing that you knew, to the thing that you understood as what you're used to, right? People are afraid of change. They're afraid of the unknown. It's to grasp onto that old paradigm as much as possible and not let go because it's a fear of change. Reading, that's what it means. It's a fear of change, and we have to grasp, we do have to grasp any kind of sense of stability or solace or for energy that we can for this year, because this has been a very tumultuous year. That's the way you're going to do it. You're only going to do it in your own life. You're not going to do it by relying on the government. You're not going to do it by fighting with one another. You're not going to do it with saying, oh, but it's her side and their side. It's not through the two-party paradigm that everybody will find this stability. This stability will be found within the self and through making connections, individual connections with others, not through voting in a system that is rigged from the beginning. Okay? And so this, again, this reading is a little bit different because it's not pick a number. This is about the collective, what is going on in the universe right now. People are hesitant to move forward to this new paradigm. They are hesitant to that, and they feel very unsettled in their mind within this new paradigm because it's fear. It's fear holding everybody back. Fear is the tool that's being used right now. Fear with a muzzle over your face in the fresh air, for crying out loud. I see it all the time where I am, right? I'm still a resident right now, technically of another state. I'm saying this to make sure you know if anybody watches this, but I've been out here for a little while right now because I'm trying to come back. I lived here for almost a decade before. But you know what I mean? This is I'm in the epicenter of this, basically compliance with wearing a freaking muzzle out in the fresh air. Like, what is the purpose of that in fresh air, right? I understand in businesses it's to respect people, they could get a fine, etc. And it circulates supposedly in closed air more. But in the fresh air, the level of compliance that I have seen with this has just proven to me, basically, that people are unwilling to, not everybody, but a good number of people are unwilling to accept the truth that they maybe are bearing, that they don't want to believe that that those who control this world don't have their best interest in mind, that maybe they don't want to believe that this is also being partially done to mock and frighten people, that they don't want to believe that they're stronger than they appear. They'd rather just acquiesce, bow their heads down, and live in fear all the time. This message to the collective is saying enough. Enough. You can run from the new paradigm as much as you want, living with less fear and more hope, living with more connection and less hostility. You can run from that paradigm as much as you want, but it's still going to come about eventually. It's still going to give birth to this new paradigm in the collective. You can dip your toe in the water and test it out and see how you like to think about the world and about relating to others and about your life with a new approach, maybe a less fearful approach. You can try to reach out to that and release this conflict within yourself, within the world, this instability, this fear, this sadness that's come about because of what's going on. A lot of people have gotten depression, etc. And you can accept that it's not about grasping at straws. It's not about lifting your arm out of an ocean that you're drowning in and saying, oh my God, I have to hold on to this paradigm for as long as I can and dig my nails into it because this is all I know. You don't have to stay in this energy of the fear of the unknown. That is one of the biggest fears that people have, is the fear of the unknown. And the fear of the unknown, to some extent, is why everybody is acquiescing to this, because it's a scary new thing, because it's something that's been drilled into our heads repeatedly that you're going to drop dead from if you don't wear a fucking mask out in fresh air. Pardon my language, but if you watch me or people like Elisa or Tyler, we're readers that swear. So if you watch me, you don't care. But it's not about, it's not about living in fear. Fear actually lowers your immune system. And how much longer are you going to take it? How much longer are you going to acquiesce? Yes, you have to find your own stability, but you find your own stability. 4 means stability. It means building within here, within yourself. You don't find it from a government that tells you what to do. Either side, by the way, they're both guilty. You don't find it from a paradigm that's structured by 2 sides that are always fighting each other. You don't find it through listening and doing what you're told all the time and putting your head down. You find it through living for yourself as much as you possibly can. And not living through yourself narcissistically. Yes, acknowledging other people need help sometimes, or it's good to have a conversation with somebody, or it's good to try to see eye to eye with somebody. It's not about, I'm not saying put yourself above everybody like nobody means anything, but it's about living for yourself in the sense of taking your own responsibility over your life and your feelings and what you feel intuitively to be true. If you still believe that wearing a mask out in fresh air or living in fear all the time or locking yourself away all day is going to help, and that's going to prevent you from ever getting sick, then you know what? It's not up to me to tell you what to do, and continue to live that way. You know what? If you are perfectly okay with it and it makes you happy, then continue to live that way. But if you find an intuitive issue or problem with this, and you feel like you're reaching up and grasping at this paradigm with every inch of your being for a paradigm that's so vulnerable and shaky, it's about to crash into the ocean, and that you don't fully 100% believe in it, and it's not giving you the stability that you so crave, then maybe think of a different way. Think of a different path. Release that turmoil that you felt. Release that desire to have things always stay the same, and understand that Things sometimes have to change. Perceptions sometimes have to change. And we can reach out to others and communicate what we know to others. We can also reach out to others instead of being fearful of them and hostile towards them, having a conversation, being a normal human being. And it is sometimes with temperance that we have to do this. We try it out. We test the water a little bit to get comfortable with it before we fully go into it. But it is in that builds greater strength and individuality, and the ability to look forward to your own future, your own metamorphosis into this emperor and empress energy of true stability in knowing that you are ultimately the person who knows the most about yourself, your own life, and what you do and do not feel comfortable with, and how to live your life best for yourself, not according to what the government tells you. Again, both sides are guilty. Not according to what other people guilt you into doing, not according to what family members may argue with you about, but according to what you feel within this center, within your heart chakra. And it is then that you'll fully be able to walk away from the paradigm that we are in and go to the new paradigm that we're approaching. And as many healers have said, it's not a tarot reader's job or a spiritual seer's job to talk about the negativity because you're just going to attract it more to us. Well, I beg to differ. It absolutely is our job to acknowledge what's going on, but to also give options as to how to get out of it. If you just ignore what's going on and you act like, oh, this isn't happening and I'm just going to law of attract everything away and just never mention it, it's living in a la-la land, right? There is yin and yang. There is light and dark. There is, and light and dark can both be good, by the way. Neither is bad or good, so to speak. There are vibrations, two sides of the same coin, two different contrasts that both can be good. There is always contrast in the universe. There is always contrast in the world, and we must acknowledge and mention those contrasts. If we seek to go to the other side of the coin, to go to the other paradigm, we have to acknowledge the one that we're living in. And this is what I'm trying to say. This is the collective message for all of you. So I hope it was understandable. I appreciate all the hearts. And I appreciate how, oh, that's really sweet for all those comments, Anna. Thank you. That's really nice of you. I know it's very, a lot of it is very stressful. And I want to also end this by saying, just so you guys are clear on this, if it makes you feel comfortable to wear the protective gear and masks and be afraid all the time and stay inside 24 hours a day, I'm not mocking you, I'm just saying, if that makes you feel more comfortable, then you absolutely should do it. I am not a doctor, I'm not telling you not to do that, but what I'm offering you is another option if you felt like maybe something's not quite right with what's going on, especially in cities like New York where we've got these psycho, mayor and governor telling everybody what to do constantly. It's up to you is what I'm saying. What do you feel within yourself? If you're starting to feel like you want to walk away from this paradigm that we're currently living in, then trust your own intuition is the point of this message. If you feel like you want to wear goggles and a mask and gloves and stay inside all the time, then continue to do that if that is making you happy, if that is making you feel comfortable. But if there's something about it that's not making you feel right, then maybe you need to reflect within that and act accordingly. You're welcome, Katya. Thank you for watching. I appreciate you guys. And yes, it is obvious. That's Anna. Anna said it's Samhain is coming and your intuition is flowing really well. Yes, well, I mean, it's I definitely feel the energy more. It's, not only is it that important spiritual day of the year besides Beltane, but it is also a month in which we go into Scorpio, which is a very intuitive sign, and that's my ascendant. So I connect with, I'm a Virgo, but my ascendant is in Scorpio. So I connect with Scorpio energy quite a lot. I don't mention my ascendant too much on this channel, but it is actually how we project ourselves to the public. So you guys, actually, when you do watch my channel, I never thought of this because I'm usually thinking about talking about you guys. And if I talk about myself, it's to relate to you guys, but I try not to make it too much about myself. I might relate to you guys more as a Scorpio on the channel, actually, because you're watching me more as a public figure instead of like my personal life. So you might see more Scorpio than I even realize. So Thank you, guys. Yeah, Gigi, I did get on a roll. When I get talking about that topic, I get very passionate about it because I definitely feel that what we're hurtling towards is a new paradigm, and we do have, we're not being given a choice in some things, but I feel like if enough of us individually can make a different choice, then I think we can probably shift this energy, or maybe not totally shift it, but help to shift it in another direction. If enough of us want to see a different approach or a different way of looking at things, maybe we can start to shift the collective in a different direction. Because it's like I said, I don't believe these spiritual leaders who say you can't acknowledge the darkness, you have to just focus on the light. They're not living in reality. But at the same time, with acknowledging what's going on in this world, we can't lose hope that there still is a chance to try to approach this differently, to change what's going on in the collective. And also, if you pray or you meditate or you do incantation, as long as it's with harm to none, you don't want to harm anybody when you do it. Make sure you say that whenever you do anything. That we can even put our energy in saying intentions or praying for a better reality, for something that can come out of this that can be good and more people can awaken to what's going on. Again, it's not about it not being real. I want to say that as well. I'm not saying that the pandemic is not real. That's not the point. But when something is stated right on the CDC website that it is 95% recovery rate, but we are all living like this, something is wrong. That's the point of what I'm saying. And something I think a lot of people can feel in their hearts is wrong, and there is another way. So as we speak, so it is. Yeah, thank you, Anna. So as we speak, so it is. And we can say that as well, with harm to none. So as we speak, so it is. I will get off of here. And, oh, hi, Luann. How are you? I have to email you too, Luann, because I want to do, you said I could pick when to do your reading, but I really wanted to do it on the night of the 30th, because I feel like I'll have a lot of energy that time to do it. And I could do it like right when it's at 12 a.m. or something like that, around that time. Because then it will be right at the time that it's Samhain, but it will be early in the morning. So I'm so glad the UK is not going through an election like the US. I'm exhausted after, oh yeah, I already read that. Yeah, the election will be interesting. I already made my prediction a while ago who it's going to be. Again, I'm not voting, so it's not something I want or don't want. It's what I see in the collective. I'm a spiritual person. I may mention how politics are affecting spirituality, but I don't believe that politics are the answer, especially with all the corruption in them. So I did mention already that I think it's going to be the same person. However, I actually want to mention one last thing before I get off this video. The tables could turn in the other direction. And the reason I feel this is because who we have right now, I should talk about this more on Patreon. I'm going to do a longer video about this on Patreon. I have to write it down. But to say this as quickly as I can, just to mention to you guys, because I want to say it. Who we have right now in power is what David Icke so correctly called the Great Divider. And if you are of the knowledge and intuition that the world is a stage and politics are the biggest stage of them all, they're all puppets and players in this stage. So one is not necessarily so much worse or so much better than the other. It may appear that way, but really all of this is done for an agenda. And essentially, the current ruler that we have right now is the Great Divider. The purpose of the Great Divider is to stir up more chaos between people, more division between people, so that through division, people can be conquered. Because you cannot conquer people who don't fight over each other based on skin color, hair color, eye color, based on socioeconomic status. You cannot conquer people if they're not fighting over stuff like that. So if they fight over stuff like that and attack each other and scream at each other and hold up signs on one side, hold up signs on another, again, things I don't participate in. If if this is what they have done, right? And he is the great divider. He's the symbol of that division. Whenever you have that archetypal energy overlying things, it's because the agenda behind that is we want to bring something in that people will not be aware of because they're too busy fighting with one another. So basically, my prediction is that he's going to get in again. However, there is a slim chance he will not. And the reason why he will not is because I feel that they are selected, not elected. The reason he will not get in is because if they have decided, the powers that be, the R's and the R's, I can't say their names on a public channel, I'll say it on Patreon, the last name that starts with an R and the other last name that starts with an R, and a lot of them have businesses named after them and buildings named after them in Upper Manhattan, if you know what I mean, what names I'm talking about. Those named people who invest so much money in this world, who are associated with the banks, they want that chaos, that division. So then these things can be implemented, the contact tracing, the eventual microchip, which Elon Musk has already mentioned is going to happen. And this is mainstream. You can look it up on YouTube. They haven't even taken that down. They want to eventually implement this, and the pandemic is a cover for that. In addition to that, not only that, but if they feel like the division is not sufficient enough, right? If the division is not sufficient enough, they will put him back in. That's what I'm trying to say. That's why I think he might go back in. If they feel the division is sufficient enough, if they've already done their job to make people hate each other enough so that they won't realize that they are all being messed with, brainwashed, and led under a one world order, and they're all in the same boat, right? In that sense, we're all in the same boat. There are forms of discrimination over people based on what they look like. That's true. However, what we're all in the same boat with is under this one world control, right? So if they have felt like the great divider has done his job, the orange man, right? The great divider has done his job enough, he probably won't get back in. But if they feel like they need to push people's buttons a little bit more to piss them off a little bit more, because a lot of people don't like him, they will let him back in. And I feel like we haven't quite reached that point where people are divided quite enough where they will be able to have absolute control. This is the ultimate reason why I think he's going to get back in. And again, it's not because I want him. It's not because I want the other guy either. I quite frankly don't like politics, and I don't like the whole charade and the thing that people even believe in it anymore, because it's not real. But this is my rationale, this is my reasoning and my intuition why I feel like he probably is going to be selected yet again, not elected, selected. Things could change though. They might say, oh, well, people are already pissed off enough, and they're ready for a change, and they're ready for, more of, which they're not going to do. That's when if the other guy gets in, he's not going to do anything that much better. It's going to be more of the same with a different delivery. That's all. They are going to have him come under the guise of being the great savior when they roll him out. If they do the other option, he will be the great savior. And then when the great savior comes in, the great savior will also implement further controls. And if you have been paying attention to what the great divider has done, the current 45th that we have right now, the great divider hasn't really prevented a lot of things that his supporters claim he has. He hasn't really prevented a lot of restrictions and controls state by state that people have claimed he has, or say that they're fearful of somebody of the other candidate implementing. He hasn't even stopped that. So I don't know what they feel like they're accomplishing by thinking that he's against the establishment, because he's not. He's part of the establishment. He's just less obvious about it. And his purpose, when it comes down to it, was to divide. His purpose was to divide. And if they feel like division is not sufficient enough yet, he will go back in to set the last nail in the coffin. So this is why everybody, it's just very important to pay attention to your own life, the life of people day to day. to not live within the vibration of fear, to not live within the vibration of anger, to try as much as you can instead of restricting yourself, to expand your heart, to expand your crown chakra, your third eye, your heart chakra, and understand with that knowledge that even if we have the great unifier who's not going to really unify, or the great divider, there are still things you can do within your own life, right? It's not about handing over power and control and believing in somebody else to do it for you. All right. Well, thank you for watching. And again, I'll talk to you later. I'm going to go more in depth on Patreon about this. And I'm also going to do in the next few days a Halloween special video about the history of Samhain, of Halloween, why it came here, how it came here, and different stories about it. And then again on Patreon, watch for my video about the election in the United States and what it means spiritually, archetypally, even more in depth than I just said. This turned into a 40-minute video that was supposed to be 20 minutes. You're welcome, guys, and I will talk to you later. NaomiTarot.com. Bye.